welcomes, I was going to say, Mr. Patrick's already got there ahead of me, so we'll skip the welcomes and just say thank you for coming. Tonight's show is the biology of colour, but all the sciences are linked. If you've got any questions at all during the show, shout out. If I can't see you or anything, shout out and let me know if you've got any questions. And I'll be around afterwards, as I think will the other science teachers, if you want to ask any of us anything about anything we're learning about tonight. Okay, I'll crack straight on. So those of you who were here 2 weeks ago saw this slide before. All three sciences, they aren't separate anymore. It's not like the olden days where you had biology, chemistry and physics. They're now all together. We've got the chemistry, we've got the physics and we've got the biology all linked together. They do have their slight separate bits, but they all control each other. Universities and everything change now. It's not like the olden days where you studied chemistry or physics or biology. You now study things like medicinal chemistry. So you're learning about how medicines work inside the body as well as making medicines, the more chemistry side. They are everywhere, they are linked all over the place. Your body, today, biology is applied chemistry. It's how chemistry works inside your body and inside plants and things like that. One of the most important ways they're linked together is through this, through colour, and because of colour, through light. Okay? This again, people saw 2 weeks ago. What is colour? Colour is just light getting into our eyes. So when we talk about colour, we're also talking about light. We're also talking about what's going on in our eyes when the light hits the back of our eyes. Over the last 3.5 billion years, that's 3, a 5 and 8 zeros, we have evolved from one cell creatures to as we are today. All life today. We still have those one cell creatures, we have the bacteria floating around, but us multicellular, complex beings, we've evolved from that, and as we have evolved, we've learned to use light and colour to help us survive. Our eyes, these evolved incredibly, absolutely incredibly. The story is so complex and not completely understood. It's absolutely fascinating. There was a scientist called Richard Feynman, very famous, I don't know if anyone's heard of him, very famous scientist. He won the Nobel Prize for physics. And he said a very famous quote where an artist said, I can appreciate this flower in front of me, it is beautiful, it is stunning. I can appreciate the colours and the complexity of the shadows, which is correct. And the artist turned around and said, you, Professor Feynman, you don't appreciate it like I do. And Professor Feynman turned around and said, actually, I know what's going on inside that flower. I know the processes that are happening. I know why it's alive, how it takes the light in from the sun, survives and reproduces and leads to offspring, which is also beautiful. Lots of people think of science as fact learning, but actually it's absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful if you look at it. And our eyes have evolved in an amazing way to how they are today. Charles Darwin here, who lived 200 or so years ago, who was born in 1809, he struggled with the eye. He couldn't quite figure it out. He figured out his whole idea of evolution, how life came about, how it went from one thing to another. We come from apes, how did that happen? He figured all this out. He sat on that for years until somebody else wrote him a letter and said, I thought of this, and it was his idea, so he thought, I'm going to get in there first. And got his book out first, and he's known as the father of evolution. He couldn't figure out the eye. That was one of the reasons. It's so complex and so stunning a thing. He couldn't figure out why the eye evolved or how the eye evolved. He just could not figure out. Of course, there's creatures that are blind. They don't use their eyes at all. So if they can survive without their eyes, then why do we need eyes? Why did the eye happen? He really, really struggled with it. It's quite a complex story. See, if you want to know, see Mrs. Fox, which I'm sure she'll tell you. One of the struggles he had was that there are so many different types of eyes. You've got our eye, the mammalian eye, us, humans, mammals, that's our type of eye. Does anyone know what this is? It's not a fish. It's close to a fish. It's an octopus, I heard it, it's an octopus. Yeah, it's a cephalopod, it's not a well done. Do you want a round of applause? It's a cephalopod, yes. So that actually is an octopus eye, that one. Oh, and this one? Insect. Yes, it is an insect. Do you know anyone know what insect? Fly. No, grasshopper. I heard it. Grasshopper. Who said that? Do you want a round of applause? Good at taking it out. Yeah, that's a grasshopper eye. It's called the compound eye. All these little things here are all separate eyes, all working together. And our brains just can't figure out how that works, how they can take all these different pictures. And you know, the chameleon eye, one goes that way and one goes that way, and they're constantly moving them. Our brains wouldn't be able to figure that out. So our eyes evolved, they developed with our brains to work in perfect conjunction. Of course, sometimes that goes wrong, but over the course of our history, they've come to the perfect thing they are today. Anybody know what this is? It's also an eye.
Fly.
It is, it's a housefly, it's just a normal housefly. On something called a scanning electron microscope, like an amazingly powerful microscope, much better than the ones you get from school and stuff. Very complex machines. This is it, really zoomed in. And each of these little, they look like balls, don't they? These little spheres, these little circles. Each of them is an eye, all working together for the housefly. This tiny little thing, which must have an incredibly tiny little brain, somehow can put that all together and see a picture and constantly annoy us in the sun. So here's our eye. Here's our eye. It's quite, this is a simplified picture. It's actually a lot more complicated. Is there any opticians in the house? Okay, I'm not. Are you an optician? If I get it wrong. Okay, so here's a human eye. It looks a lot simpler than it actually is in real life. Did any of you see the eye being dissected with Mrs. Fox in that there? Rank, isn't it? Did she get the lens out? Did you see it zooming in? Yeah, rank. And it squirts all that jelly everywhere. So what happens is, when we view something, the light comes in this way. So my object is over there, it's on the wall, my object, and we want to have a look at it. Light comes down from wherever, from outside, from the projector, wherever the light's coming from, hits the object, and bounces into the eye this way. When it hits this part, the lens changes the direction. What's that called? Does anybody know? Go on. Close. Good man. Refraction. Refraction. So this is where the light changes direction. And here would be the back of the eye. And here we can see it with a candle. So the light from the top comes in, changes direction slightly, and hits the back of the eye. And then the light from near the bottom of the candle comes in and hits the back of the eye there. Then the message gets sent up to our brain, and our brain can interpret it. Absolutely incredible. You can see it's upside down. Our brain just knows to flip it the right way around. It's amazing how that happens. Now at the back of your eye, this part, this sort of yellowish part where the light is hitting, we have two types of cell. These rods, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, Mr. Parker's going to help us with that, who is colourblind but didn't own up to it last time. So we're going to have a look at them, and we're going to look at these cones as well. There's a reason these are coloured. That's because we have three different cones in the back of our eye, and they're called blue, green and red. These are the three primary colours. In science and art, they're different. Is it red, blue and yellow? In art, the primary colours. In science we go with them. These three colours can make every other colour that exists. We combine them in different ways, we can make every colour that exists. I'm not going to go into details, that was in the last show, so I don't want more people who come to this one as well. This is a picture of the retina, the back of the eye. When the light hits, different colours, my blue tie or this purple colour here, or the green, or whatever colours hit in the back of your eye, those cones are activated. They become active, they start working, and they send a chemical message to the nerve, and the nerve sends an electrical message to the brain. And that's how that works. That's seeing colours. What about not seeing colours? Mrs. Parker. People who can't see colours, something's wrong with their cones. Maybe all of them, and they see completely grey. I have a friend who can only see the grey, only see black and white. But in most people, it's just one of these that goes. If the blue goes, you can't see blue very well. And if the red goes, you can't see red very well. And then you're limited. You're limited. You can't be an electrician. You can't be a bomb disposal expert. That doesn't work at all. Well, maybe you can, but only the once, I think. and then that's it. So if one of these doesn't work, you can't see colours very well. And here, this isn't a real picture. This is a picture that's been generated by a computer. This is a normal person. This is a person with healthy eyes, with colour vision, I should say. Not a normal. You're not abnormal, miss. This is what. Is anybody else colourblind in here? Just the two of you. So the rest of us were normal. We can see things normally. We can see things perfectly right. You can see we've got the blue, the red, and the green cones there. So when things hit our eyes, hit those cones, red hits our eye, we get to see the red that's going on. I don't know what colour blindness you've got, miss, but you may have this one where you've got the red colour blindness. Is that what you've got? So here, the red cones aren't working. The red cones aren't, so people can't see red. It's not that they can't see red, but they might see it all as one shade, or they might see it as green, see it as something different. To my brother, he's colourblind, and blues and purples are just exactly the same to him. And everybody's slightly different when they're colourblind. Can you read that then? Come on then. Round of applause for Mrs. Parker. Can everybody else says colourblind people are fools, doesn't it? Is that what it's saying? Oh. Go on then, miss.
Oh, there's nothing there. There's an 8 there.
There's an 8, yeah? We've got the 8.
There is nothing in here.
Can you see any of it? Do you want to come up? You can come up and have a look. No, it's too sharp. Nothing else.
I can see the 16.
So the 8 and the 16. What have we got here? Can anyone see that?
No.
12. I think that one's well easy to see. That one's the brightest.
I can't see anything.
This one? Can you do any of the patterns? You see that?
No. I can see that one.
Which, this one?
No, this, yeah,
that one. Go on then, do that.
See that?
Do you want to use it?
Have you had to put it? There, like that.
No, there's not one there. Thanks, Jess. I sent this fucking email late last night saying you can show it's good out there last time, but this time you not getting away with it. Right, so why does colourblindness still exist? It shouldn't. People who are colourblind, in theory, are at a disadvantage. Their ancestors should not have survived. Colourblindness is passed on from parent to child to child to child. It's passed on through, so they shouldn't have survived. Perhaps not today, where we can get around colourblindness, but in the past, when our ancestors were climbing trees and eating fruits and stuff like that, colourblindness should have gone. So why does it still exist? That's what evolution is. That's the whole point of evolution, survival of the fittest. It doesn't mean the fittest, that who can run the fastest, who can do the most press up. It means who is best suited to where they live. Which animals, plants, bacteria, whatever, which ones are best fitted to their environment. And our colourblind ancestors should have gone. We are diurnal. Does everybody know what diurnal means? Daytime living. Somebody's going to say that. We are awake during daylight. That's the opposite of nocturnal. We are awake during daylight. So we need colours. We need colours because everything is coloured. We need to know what colour certain things are. People in the past would eat bitter fruit, sour fruit, and as soon as you ate it, you'd spit it out if it was sour, because it might be poisonous if it's sour. There's little children. They don't like coffee, and they don't like broccoli and certain fruits. Because they're sour, because their bitter, sour taste buds are so much more sensitive. And as we grow up, they become less and less sensitive, which is why adults will eat those Brussels sprouts. Perhaps not welcomely, but we'll eat those Brussels sprouts, we'll eat that broccoli, we'll eat the sour fruit. Because our taste buds aren't so sensitive to the bitter, sour stuff anymore. But little kids, they would spit it out. And they would soon learn that some of these things, some of these fruits and berries that are red, that one tasted sour, so that red one might taste sour. So that colour was important to them. If this red thing is sour, this red thing might be sour. I'm not going to eat it because it might make you ill. I'm going to come back to why in a second, why the colour blindness still exists today. But before I do, I'm just going to do a little bit of genetics to go in here as well. So here's somebody with a nice bright blue eye. I'm going to look at why eye colour exists today. So where does our eye colour come from? Right, any volunteers? Come on then, Tommy Lee. Now you have to look out at the audience. Say hello first.
Hello.
I want you to choose your favourite girl. Do you want me to choose for you?
Yes, please. Miss Anton.
Come on with Stanton. And you get to choose your favourite boy.
All good.
And Morgan, you get to choose your favourite male teacher. Not me, I'm already on stage. Who do you pick? We're coming on to that, sir. Now, here we've got Mr. Stanton, we've got Mr. Gamble, and they, hang on. They both love each other very much. We should have had, I'm going to the chapel playing or something, wasn't it, in the background. They love each other very much. They decide to get married and they would like to raise a family. And along comes Morgan. Morgan's their firstborn child. Do your best baby impression. I didn't even prep it. That's just natural, that, wasn't it, Morgan? They have Morgan. Mr. Gamble's got blue eyes for this. He's got blue eyes. He has 2 copies of the blue gene instructions manual. That's all the gene is. It's an instructions manual. And he's got 2 copies of the blue gene. Stanton's got brown eyes, but she's got 1 brown eye gene and 1 blue eye gene. Okay? Got it? Are you going to be blue? We'll see, we'll see. So Miss Stanton's got 1 brown eye gene and 1 blue eye gene, and Mr. Campbell's got 2 blue eye genes. The brown eye gene is the strongest. Let's see the Superman impression there. Big baby, isn't it? Right, these 2 are going to listen to you what gene they're going to give you. Right, what genes have you got, Morgan? And, so blue for Mr. Gamble and blue for Mr. Stanton. You could only get blue for Mr. Gamble, didn't you? And Miss Stanton had a choice. Yeah? So blue and blue. There's no brown in there. What eye colour do you think Morgan will have? Blue. And then along comes second child. Not so big a baby this time. Right, go on, you go have your whisper of your gene. What genes have you got?
Blue and brown.
Blue and brown. The brown is the strongest. Let's see your guns. Blue and brown. The brown is the strongest. What colour eyes will Tommy Lee have? Brown. Exactly. I'm sure if Tommy Lee was the first child, that would have been it, I imagine. Yeah. No. Yeah. Right. Thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause. It's a little bit more complicated than that because we don't just have brown eyes and blue eyes, we have other colour eyes as well. We can figure out the maths and we can see what's going on. These are your parents, so this column is 1 parent, mum or dad, and here is mum or dad on that side. So if mum and dad both have brown eyes, then you've got a 75% chance of having brown eyes. You've got an 80% chance of having green eyes and a 6 and a quarter chance of having blue eyes. So my nephew, both his parents are brown eyed, but he's got very bright blue eyes. So the chance of that happening is dead slim. This though is not perfect. So if you're looking at your eyes now, don't worry about it. This isn't perfect. We don't fully understand genetics yet. This might not be exactly right, and it is a Googled image, so even the numbers might not be perfect there. So it isn't exactly right, but we can figure out the chances there. This, like Mr. Gumby, you said you got a coloured spot. Yeah. Does anybody know what that's called? Heterochronia. It's called hetero means opposite, and chrome means colour. So opposite, different colours. So you've got blue and brown in there. My granddad's got one, he's got a blue eye with a yellow spot, and his mum had 1 brown eye and 1 completely blue eye as well. Does anybody else have anything like that? I think it's cool, it looks awesome. It's in the one of the X-Men films. Have you got it? Oh yeah. I think it's pretty cool. So that's heterochronia. So this is an example of how our genetics, our genes, it's not perfect. We can't tell what colour our eyes are definitely going to be. There's always something which could go wrong. And work your way backwards through all our ancestors, all humans on this planet, we share the same grandparent. Going back millions of years, we have exactly the same grandparents as each other. At some point, one of their descendants, their genes mutated, something went wrong, their instructions manuals inside their bodies went wrong. All humans then had brown eyes. This person went wrong, and the gene for brown eyes turned into the gene for blue eyes. And then it got passed on to their descendants from there. And so everybody with blue eyes, in here, you are quite closely related to each other. And everybody is fairly closely related to each other. But if you've got blue eyes, you're more closely related to somebody than if they have brown eyes. Unless, of course, they're your parents. Okay, back to colour blindness then. Mrs. Parker, she's a bit odd. So Mrs. Parker's a bit odd. There's not many colourblind ladies in the world. There's not many colourblind ladies. About 1 in 8, 1 in 10 men are colourblind. So the fact that we have none in here is quite unusual. So about 10% of the population of men is colourblind. So in this country, we're talking about 300,000 people being colourblind. Yeah, that's right, 300,000 people being colourblind. But in ladies, about 1 in 250. So it's very rare for a lady to be colourblind. And this is why I'm going to stand here, sorry if I'm in your way. The father here, he does not have colour blindness. His genes are clean of colour blindness. The mum though, she carries the colourblind gene. She has the colourblind instructions in her body. When they decide to have a family, they pass on their genes. One from dad, one from mum. If mum passes on the colourblind gene to a boy, he will be colourblind. If mum passes it on to a girl, she won't be colourblind unless she gets the colourblind gene from dad as well. Okay, so for boys to be colourblind, they just get the colourblind instruction from mum. If girls are colourblind, they have to get it from mum and dad. Okay. I'm not going to go into the full detail. If anyone wants to know, please ask at the end, but I'm not going to go into the full detail there because genetics is quite complicated. So back to this, why does colour blindness exist then? They were at a disadvantage. They should have gone. Our colourblind ancestors should have gone. So there must have been some sort of advantage in colour blindness. Now we don't know what it is exactly because we're talking about millions of years ago. So we don't know exactly, but we can use our science to have a good guess at what's going on. Their advantage was this. Their cones don't work very well, or one of their cones doesn't work very well, but their rods were brilliant. Now the cones see colour, but rods pick up just normal light. Is the light there, or isn't it? In other words, if you're colourblind, you can see really well at night. Because you can detect tiny, tiny bits of light that us who don't have colour blindness, we can't detect as well. Not a huge difference, but there is a difference. And that was enough to protect the family at night. When our ancestors, little apes living in Kenya, running around in trees, hiding up trees, hunted by saber-toothed tigers and so on, they could spot when they were coming at night. So it's important for that colour blindness to get passed on, and it just still survives today as a leftover. Like our appendix, we don't need that anymore, it's just a leftover. But we still have it. This here, the camouflage predators, absolutely incredible at spotting that. See if you can. Can we all see that? Yeah. Yeah? What is it? Tiger. Correct. This? Can you see it? A leopard here. People at the back, can you see it better than? Can you see it quite well at the back? Can you not see it? Leopard. All right, try this one. see it here now? Yeah. Now you know it's there. And if we zoom in, there it is. There's his ears, there's his eyes, there's his nose. Okay? Now, there are thousands, perhaps a little bit conservative, maybe hundreds of thousands or even into the millions of species that exist use camouflage amazingly. They are brilliant at camouflage, either to hide or to hunt. One of those two, or both. They might want to do both. Can you see this?
Yes.
An owl, yeah, can you see it? Can you see the owl here? Here it is. There's his ears, nose, closed eyes there. Okay, there's the owl. Absolutely fantastic. Here's another one. I heard somebody say it. Caterpillar. This bug, can you see it like that? Because of your boxing. Yeah. Like light and dark, isn't it? Yeah. Here, can you see this? This is a caterpillar. There's its head, and there's its tail. What about this? What is it? No, it's not a lizard. It is a reptile. Look at Mr. Webb. I've never seen Mr. Webb concentrate so hard. Here is a frog. A tree frog in, I think, Brazil. Here, there's its leg. Its head is there. Its other leg is there. It's hard. It's hard. I promise it's there. Can you see this? You can see it's definitely there. This is a massive creature. I think I heard it. Giraffe, yeah. Giraffe. Even this huge giraffe, huge giraffe is still fairly well camouflaged. Can you all see it? There's his head, neck. Now we're going to come and have a look at a sea creature now. See if you can spot this sea creature first. It's very difficult to see. It's absolutely incredible. We're so used to seeing these programs. I mean, David Attenborough is an absolute legend. See if you can see these in the sea. Can you see it? It is, yeah. It's called a sea dragon because it's so big, but it is a seahorse. It's a special type. Can you see it? See it? Tail, head. So that's called the leafy sea dragon. I think it's pretty obvious why it's called leafy. Sea dragon because it's a seahorse, but another big one. There's its head. Can you see its head really well now? There's its sort of little. They have a sucker, don't they? They suck up the tiny little creatures through there. Which, if they were living on land, they would be called a bug. Does everybody know what a bug is? Ladies and gentlemen, cover this. Does everybody know? Every day's a learning day. Does everybody know what a bug is? Go on, top of it. It is a little creature. Do you know what a bug is? It is a type of insect, but it's a special type of insect. It's an insect that sucks its food instead. That's like a housefly. We've seen that camouflage before. It's amazing. It's just from the volume and the sort of a little bit of excitement in the room there. It's amazing. But we've all heard of it, we've all seen it, and we use it to help us. Can you all see that there? Yeah? There's a soldier there. There's his feet. There's his helmet. There's his head. And then here's his leg. One leg there. Other leg there. Okay. So we use that idea to help us nowadays. Okay? In the same way, we talked about 2 weeks ago in chemistry and physics, the more chemistry and physics based one, that we use iridescence. So here we can see biology, chemistry and physics all joining together. They're not their separate sciences, they are one thing. This iridescence we used before, and this was the thing with the emperor butterfly. Is that right? Emperor butterfly. I couldn't remember the name last time. This emperor butterfly, we can use that, and we looked at that in a little bit more detail last time, how we can make iridescent materials. Materials that if you change the angle you look at, you move them, they change colour. And if we zoomed into this eye makeup, it would look odd, it would look weird. you'd see lots of different colours going on, and it wouldn't be pleasing to the eye. But when you zoom out, you get this sort of amazing, almost sparkle effect. And the same here with this dress. And I'm told the sort of Frozen, Disney's Frozen live version, that Elsa's dress is being made out of this sort of material apparently. So it looks all icy and amazing. So we can use camouflage, we can use the ideas, we take our inspiration from nature. Nature is amazing. No matter what we do, we can't copy nature perfectly, but we can use it as best as we can. We can also use the iridescent thing for the butterflies. We can also use other things, because nature can go further. That's not all what nature can do. Nature can go beyond anything we can imagine to start with. Some animals change colour completely. The most famous animal that changes colour is the chameleon. Okay, I'm going to show you something that is not a chameleon. Okay, we're going to talk about chameleons in a second. I'm going to show you something that is not a chameleon. Again, it's a sea creature. It's not all sea creatures can do this. A chameleon doesn't live in the sea. This absolutely incredible video. See who can spot it first. Some of you might have seen it before. Can anybody see it? The stingray. Stingrays don't change colour, unfortunately, so it's not that one. It is an octopus, with a little ink at the end there. Okay, yes, it is an octopus. That octopus can change colour. You can see it starts to change colour a little bit there as it tries to blend in and camouflage itself again. So here, this octopus, at the moment, it looks like it's doing it to hide. There's somebody with a snorkel and a camera, or a scuba diving kit and a camera coming after it, so it's trying to hide. But octopuses eat other animals, so it probably uses it to hunt as well. So that's an absolutely incredible thing. We're going to look at chameleons, we're going to look at how they change colour as well now. So, this octopus is hiding, okay? Chameleons, this is, what's his name, from Pascal, is it? From Tangled, Pascal? I say that as if I don't watch Disney all the time. So Pascal he's not quite figured out what his colour changing ability is for yet. They don't change colour to hide chameleons. Do you know why? Does anybody know why? Ollie? Shout out loud, mate. Mood, yeah, good. Their mood. They use it for their mood and to communicate. So they let other chameleons know their mood by changing colour. They can't talk to other chameleons, so they change colour. And I think, if I'm right, red also shows they're not in a very good mood. So red seems to be almost a sort of universal angry colour, possibly. I think. I'll have to double check that though. So they use it to communicate, and they do it for one of the things. Everybody know the other reason? They control their temperature by changing colour as well. They control their temperature as well. Okay? So here's a chameleon having changed colour from its normal green. This is how they do it. The top layer of their skin is transparent. It's like glass. We can see through it. Completely transparent. But if you go below that, you go to the next layer down in their skin, they've got these specialised cells, chromatophores. Chrome, do you remember chrome means colour? Yeah? So these chromatophores, these are specialised cells which can change colour, and they have sacs in, and these sacs have pigments. Those of you who went into the room where the animals were, hopefully saw what started off as a tiger, but Imogen, give us away, Imogen. Imogen didn't recognise it as a tiger and gave it a name, so it became a lion in the painting room. Those pigments, those onion skin and the beetroot, and we had some other stuff in a box there. Hopefully some of you saw some man-made pigments. All these pigments are coloured chemicals. That's all they are. They're just coloured chemicals. And inside the skin, if you go a layer down, inside the skin of this chameleon, there are sacs of pigment, and there are 4 of them, and they've got fancy names. And all they are, like much of science, the word science is Latin. Science in Latin is scientia, which means knowledge. That's what the word science means. And you can see here we've got these 4 different colours, these 4 different chemicals. We've got melanophores, like melanin. Melanin is a chemical inside our own bodies that turns us brown when we tan. Iridophores, they're blue, the xanthophores are yellow, and erythrophores are red. And what they do, they can control these sacs opening and different colours come out. And they mix together, and you can see these different colours like this chameleon is here, communicating whatever it's trying to communicate. going to a party, I think, or something. He's trying to communicate he's ready for a dance or something. But can nature do even more? Yeah, it'd be a bit of a bad slide if the answer was no, wouldn't it? If that was the end of the talk. Yes, it can do loads more. Some species even create their own light. That's not quite right there. Light is a type of energy, and what can't we do with energy? We can't create energy. All we can do is turn energy from one type to another. So they use chemical energy and turn it into light energy. And this is called bio, meaning living thing, luminescence, as in to illuminate, to light up. So bioluminescence, or lumos, isn't it? The Harry Potter spell, lumos, with his wand to make it light up, and then not, isn't it, for dark. Big Harry Potter fan. Should we do another talk, Harry Potter? The science of Harry Potter, can we repeat? Yeah. We'll start that tomorrow. Right, so these bioluminescent animals, there are loads of them. I'm sure you can think of them. I think one of the most famous is perhaps the firefly, which I don't have a picture of. But I do have a picture of this. This is just a beach. These are all plankton. Tiny, tiny, tiny insect-like creatures that live in the ocean. And there are beaches around the world where you can go and see this. This isn't changed, this picture isn't doctored in any way, it's not been photoshopped. They genuinely give off, they iridescence, they give off this bright blue light here. We also have these jellyfish, and they glow as well. And who's seen Finding Nemo? When Nemo ends really deep down with the anglerfish, who lights up, the scary one with the teeth. It lights up. Those sort of fish, they live so deep down, no light can go that far down through the ocean. So it's completely dark. So to attract other fish, they can light themselves up as well. Right, just like these jellyfish can. Okay. This jellyfish here was worked on by a team in Japan, some Japanese scientists, way back 50 odd years ago. This was worked on, and they figured out how it glowed. Years later, they won the Nobel Prize for it, Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Even though this is a biology talk, this was the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. And then along came, in 1995 and 2007, along came two groups of scientists who won the Nobel Prize in those years as well. And they figured out something to do with this. All good science builds on itself, standing on the shoulders of giants. So you've got these amazing scientists, Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein and Richard Feynman I talked about earlier. They did amazing work, but because of that we can go further. We can stand on their shoulders and we can see further. And that's what these guys did here. I think there were two sets of three. This was three blokes, and this was a lady who was involved there as well. And she is one of the most famous scientists today because of what she did. And they figured out what made this jellyfish glow, and they did that with it. They made this planet glow. They made these mice, these three mice here, glow. And they made this sheep. This is very recent, this sheep. They made that glow as well. Looks amazing. Looks awesome. But what's the point? What's the point in that? How is it useful to us? Science discovers lots of things, some of it not so useful. Some of it we find out is useful years later. There's a physicist who discovered something called NMR, which is a technique we use in chemistry. He discovered that, but his results weren't what he wanted. So he did something that bad scientists did. He hid his results from people, which he shouldn't have done. He should have still told people what was going on, but he hid them. Years later, a chemist came along, figured out what the physicists had done, and realised that it was the single most useful thing we've ever had in chemistry. So some things we discover are useless, but actually they might be useful later. Some things are just a bit useless. Memory foam mattresses and things like that, all coming from the space race. We spend a lot of money going into space, but we have so much stuff from the MRI scanners and things like that come from it. So how is this here, glow-in-the-dark plants and animals, how is that useful to us? From that, we can figure out how to do genetic engineering. What they did was get the glow-in-the-dark gene, just like the eye colour gene we had here. Just like the eye colour gene, we can cut that out of a cell from the body. Chance of having green eyes and a 6 1/4 chance of having blue eyes. So my nephew, both his parents are brown-eyed, but he's got very bright blue eyes. So the chance of that happening was dead slim. This though is not perfect. So if you're looking at your eyes now, don't worry about it. This isn't perfect. We don't fully understand genetics yet. This might not be exactly right, and it is a Googled image, so even the numbers might not be perfect there. So it isn't exactly right, but we can figure out the chances there. This thing, This, like Mr. Gumby, you said you got a good spot.
Yeah.
Does everybody know what that's called? Heterochronia, like Bangladesh, where there's a lot of people who need feeding, and rice is a staple food out there. We can grow crops that are resistant to disease and resistant to insects. One of my friends now works for a company in Reading, and he's working on this now. He's working on herbicides and insecticides, doing this sort of stuff today. There's big money in it as well. Lots of money drives all these things, doesn't it, unfortunately. But we can also do this. We can use these plants. We can go a step further, and we can do this. We can make, this isn't actually a glow-in-the-dark tree, this is what one would look like. But we can make trees that glow in the dark. We can make trees that glow in the dark. We don't need street lights anymore. We can get rid of street lights. If these can glow bright enough, we can get rid of street lights, which means we aren't burning fossil fuels, which means we aren't polluting the environment, which means global warming will hopefully slow down. And the trees can get rid of carbon dioxide in the air as well. No, it would the only side effect it would have is to glow. That's it. It's absolutely incredible. Eventually, not at the moment, but eventually we might be able to do this with humans, so we can eradicate lots of diseases. Lots of diseases can be gone. Not all diseases, not things like colds and flus and stuff like that, but lots of diseases, genetic diseases, could possibly be gone, but that's not going to happen for a while, certainly for a while. So this would be incredible. Maybe not if you're a light sleeper and you can't turn it off again at night, and you haven't got any blackout blinds or anything like that. Perhaps not so good for you there. Let's go back. We started talking about the eye, and then we sort of went off a little bit and looked at other things nature can do. Now let's go back to the eye. Do you know what eye this is?
Bee.
It is bee. Yeah, it's a honeybee. Yeah, it's a honeybee. This is how we see this flower. That is how the bee sees the flower. It looks red to us, but it looks blue, this sort of bluish colour to the bee. Those of you who were here last time, hopefully you can remember talking about the electromagnetic spectrum, where you go radio waves, microwaves, infrared, visible light, the tiny part that we can see, ultraviolet, X-rays and gamma rays. We have the slinky going here. Bees can't see red, so our visible light, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, the colour of the rainbow, our visible light is not the same visible light as bees. Bees can see, they can't see the red, they can see a bit of yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, purple, and ultraviolet. We can't see ultraviolet. We can feel its effect. If you spend all day out in the sun, you can feel that tingle on your skin, that's from the ultraviolet. But we can't see it, but bees can see it, and bees are attracted to it. So flowers that look dull to us look incredible to bees. They get attracted to it, and they take the pollen, and get their honey and whatever else they need to do, and keep us going. So this, a dandelion, pretty dull to us, not amazingly exciting, but that's what it looks like to a bee. And that attracts the bees. The bees want it, they want to go there, they're attracted to that. And here again, another flower. This doesn't look like this to us. If we looked at this, it all looks yellow. Slightly different yellow, it gets lighter yellow, it's dark in the middle and gets lighter, but this is what they see. They are much more attracted to that than we would be. Animals also use colour for other things, not just plants came along and flowers came along much later. We had trees and stuff around for a long time before any flowers came along. Flowers came along hundreds of millions of years later, a long time after the rest of the plants came along. Started off as pond slime and stuff before we even got weeds and trees and stuff like that, and grass. And then flowers came along as insects came along. The flowers needed the insects so they could reproduce. The insects needed flowers so they could feed. So the colour of the flowers developed as the insect's eye developed. Something called co-evolution. They evolved, they changed together. And the Brazil nut is a perfect example. Brazil nut is the perfect example of that. Brazil nuts can only grow in Brazil, and it can only grow because the Brazil nut tree is pollinated by one insect in one particular part of the Amazon. And if we try to recreate that here, we can't. It's all in one place. So one living thing is dependent. It depends on another one. It really wants that other one to survive. Without the other one, it won't survive. And animals can use it for courtship as well, to show off. to show off to other things. So here we have some. They look like parakeets to me, but I might be wrong. I'm not very good with birds. So they're parakeets. Does anybody know their birds? Yes, you know your animals. Okay. Just the reptiles. I think they look like parakeets to me. They're brightly coloured because they attract each other when they're brightly coloured. Here we have a baboon. Here we have a baboon. It's really hard not to put other pictures of other people. But there's a baboon. Oops. And here we have an oriental fish. Oriental something. I can't remember his name. An oriental fish. There again. It's normally the males. It's normally the males that are brightly coloured because the males want to show off. Coldwell, Friday night, 11 o'clock. Have a walk down the street and have a look. Mr. Anderson will be there in his bright colours. Trying to attract everybody. I said everybody, all inclusive there. I said everybody. That's what we do. We show off, don't we? Even with humans, we do it. We don't notice we did it. We're just trying to look nice. But we're showing off because we're trying to attract other people, just to have conversations with, as well as for courtship. And animals do exactly the same. Exactly the same. And chameleons will do it, and that's why they change colour partly as well. To communicate, to show I'm trying to attract a mate, so we can reproduce and have offspring that will survive. Here, the flamingo, that doesn't use its colour for courtship. Does anybody know where the colour of flamingos come from? They're not pink. Go on.
Pink sardines.
Good man, they eat, not sardines, you're close though, but they eat pink, do you know what they are? Shrimps. Pink shrimp. But the pink shrimps aren't pink themselves. They can't make the colour pink. They eat pink plankton. They eat pink, these tiny little creatures, you know the ones that glow on the seaside? Those ones don't glow, but they are pink. Tommy Lee, you got a question?
Yeah, what shrimps?
Shrimps like prawns?
Yeah.
Prawns, like prawns. Alright. Yes. Some shrimps are, some shrimps aren't. You're right, some definitely are blue. These ones that the flamingos eat are pink. Has anybody ever seen it? That famous lake in Africa, that bright reddish pink. That's on TV sometimes. Incredible lake, bright pinkish red. And flamingos live around there. So they eat shrimps, and the shrimps eat these plankton. And these plankton have the pink chemical, the pink pigment in them. And then that all feeds through. Do you remember the Sunny Delight scare? With Sunny Delight, I think I was in year 7 or something when it happened, so a few years ago. And people were drinking too much Sunny Delight and their skin went orange. Their skin went orange. I was going to say something about it. I don't know where everyone's from. Carrots as well. Carrots, eat too much carrots and your skin goes orange. Carrots have got a chemical in, believe it or not, they're called carotenoids, and they are orange in colour, and they make your skin go orange as well. Bring it right up to date, not quite today, if you can see that date, it says February 2012, and scientists thought they figured out why zebra stripes came about. Zebras are black and white. They live in a place that's very orangey brown. They're not very well camouflaged when the lions come hunting. So what is going on? And they think they figured out, there's loads of ideas. Keep cool maybe was one of them. Some of you, our year 9s, have seen pictures in lessons of zebras, an infrared picture of a zebra. We looked at one 2 weeks ago, as we showed 2 weeks ago. Zebras, possibly to cool down, but they thought they discovered, well, it kept flies away. For some reason, flies wouldn't land on a black and white striped creature. They did some tests in labs and figured out that was going on. We now know that's not true. We become more up to date, and you see here, at the end of 2013, zebra stripes, the mystery of these stripes have been completely explained. Zebras are striped, just like our camouflage gear in the army, to break up your pattern, to break up your silhouette. So people, the lions and whatever, cheetahs, leopards, that go hunting these zebras, they can't quite see the shape of the zebra very well. How many zebras are there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I'll print it off, Tommy Lee, and give it here, you can spend some more of it. There are a lot of zebras there. I haven't counted myself. Anybody wants to count, you're welcome. I'll put the slide back up if you want to have a look. You're welcome to count. But there are a lot. What would be easier to see is if they were all one colour. If they were horses, we would be able to count them a lot easier. And scientists eventually figured out that lions are mammals. They have the same type of eye as us. They can't, because their silhouette, their shape is broken up, they can't be seen very well. You can't see how many are there. A lion won't risk going for tons and tons and tons of zebra. It wants one on its own. If you ever see those David Attenborough programs, when you've got just the odd zebra on its own and the lion goes for that, it will go for the odd zebra, but it won't go for loads of them. Elephants are great, they get camouflage in. They're a bit big for lions, aren't they? There's that famous video, isn't there, of some lions taking down elephants during drought when they were starving. That was a few years ago with David Attenborough as well. But they're pretty big, they don't need to be camouflaged. Nothing's really going to go for them. Nothing's really going to go for them. Same as whales. Whales are pretty big. So if they're a different colour to water, it doesn't really matter. Hopefully you've seen, those of you who hear the chemistry and physics and this one, hopefully you've seen it in both of them. If you hear of just this one, hopefully you've seen that colour is amazing. What is happening with colour is all about science. Hopefully you've seen science is amazing as well. I just want to end, I'm at the end now so you can all get popped to the loo, we'll go get some more food if there's any more food left. I just want to say a massive thank you to 3M again who are here. Thank you for coming over and doing our road signs and supporting us. 3M have been a big support. Loads of kids and expertise. I went over to see two of my old teachers. One's a physical chemist, they do physics and chemistry, and one's an inorganic chemist, and her specialism is coloured chemistry. They gave me lots of expertise. They told me off for not remembering it myself when I was at university, but then they gave me lots of expertise and re-taught me everything I'd forgotten. So thank you to both of those. Thank you to you guys for being here. It's a nice warm day and you're stuck in a stuffy hall. And finally I want to say a massive thank you to all of our students. You have been absolutely amazing and I'm sure everybody will join in giving you a round of applause.